Hi there, let's have a revise over social impact theory. So, Latané and Wolff in 1981 developed the social impact theory. This theory states that three factors cause social impact when combined in sufficient methods. And those were immediacy, numbers, and strength. So, people change their behavior if they're put under enough pressure. This is called social impact. So social impact is made up of immediacy, which is how recent or physically close the source of pressure is, numbers, so the size of the group applying the pressure, and strength, so how powerful the person or group applying the pressure is. So social impact happens when the combined effect of these factors is strong enough. According to the theory, minorities can cause social impact through a difference balance of factors to majorities. Minority groups are fewer in numbers than majority groups, but they can still cause social impact if they have enough strength and immediacy. Sedekides and Jackson in 1990 conducted a field experiment in the birdhouse in a zoo, and this supported Latané and Wolff's findings. In 1985, Mullen analysed data from social impact theory studies. He criticised many for focusing on self-report instead of observable behaviour. Moscovici, in 1969, observed consistent and inconsistent behavioural styles on minority influence in a colour study. So, it was a laboratory experiment. It had 192 female participants, and these women were split into groups of 6, with 2 Confederates per group, and there was one control group that had no Confederates at all. Groups were asked to identify the colour of 36 slides. All were different shades of blue. The consistent Confederates identified all 36 slides as green. The inconsistent Confederates identified 12 sides as blue and 24 as green. It was found that the minority groups had more influence when they behaved consistently rather than inconsistently, because this was found from their results. Because the groups with consistent Federates, 32% of natural participants identified at least one slide as green, and about 8% of the time participants identified slides as green. Groups with inconsistent Confederates, in about 1% of the time, identified the slides as green, and in the control group, about 0.25% of the time participants identified slides as green. So, as all studies, there were some pros and cons to it. The pros was that there was a control group result, and this proved that the minority groups had influence. The cons were that it had low ecological validity, which means that it can't be generalized well, and because participants were in an artificial situation. There was also low generalizability because there were only female participants. In another experiment, participants didn't have to announce the colour aloud, instead they wrote it down. In this experiment, even more participants adopted the minority view, and this further backs the theory on minority influence. In 1974, Nemeth carried out a variation on the study I just talked about, and in this they allowed participants to answer with a combination of colours rather than just a single colour. In their method, there were 2 Confederates per group, and the 3 conditions were: one was the Confederates identifying every slide as green, another was the Confederates identifying darker slides as green and brighter slides as green-blue, and the Confederates randomly identified slides as green or blue in the 3rd condition. So, what were the results? Inconsistent behaviour, i.e. the Confederates identifying colours randomly, did not influence the participants. The Confederates who identified every slide as green did not influence the participants. The Confederates, who identified darker and brighter slides as green and green-blue, respectively, had a significant influence on the participants. So what can we conclude from that study? We can conclude that strict consistency, i.e. identifying every slide of green, is not effective. The Confederates' response seemed implausible when they could answer with a combination of colours instead of one. When there was flexible consistency, i.e. identifying darker and brighter slides differently, this was the most effective. And that sums up the studies on social impact theory for you.